Okay, we're live.
Right.
Awesome.
So I guess we got to start by talking about kind of like the organizational culture.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The screen bigger.
Cool. So, whenever I think about the culture, like again, work at Starbucks, and whenever I come in, you know how you feel that vibe, whether it's good, it's bad. People are rowing, people are low energy, high energy. Um, I always like the idea that the shift or the manager are the one that will dictate that mood or energy level. In a sense, I feel like the culture is created by the leader in the moment. And if you're not in a good mood, like for me, it's like when I was a shift, if I wasn't in a good mood, I could start seeing people being in a bad mood. It always made me wonder. So I started like going into a good mood and started increasing the energy of others. It is like one of the prime roles of creating that culture, creating that moment, helping others like prosper from it.
Yeah, I think that like however the leader decides to communicate sets the tone for the whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, well, I'll go next. I've worked for a couple different companies, usually big corporations, and the you can always tell the difference between the culture from one to the other in terms of how everybody feels about things. Um, for instance, I went from a culture at AT&T to where we were very open. We were very positive. The management encouraged us to speak our minds about things. If we thought there was a better way to do something, that we should go ahead and just open up and talk about it. And if we had an idea how to change it, just to tell them. And many times they would go ahead and implement, what we suggested because we're the ones, doing the work. And we know the ways to do things better. And that was great. Everybody was positive all the time. Productivity was very high. Everybody cared about what they were doing. Quality was exceptional. Then the division was bought out by Citibank. So a bank buys the division. Now, banks are very rigid. They like to keep a lot of the power up at the top. Many of the managers always figured they knew what's best for everything, no matter what. So they made a lot of changes, negative changes, and they didn't take any input from the people who had to do the work. So the company went from being positive down into a negative slope to where, nobody had any input. So they felt that management didn't care about, what we thought. And so productivity, of course, suffered, and as did the quality of the work. So it went from a positive culture down to one that was very negative, and the negative culture is really just destroyed the whole fun and everything that used to be good about working for that division.
Yeah. For me, like when it comes to the authoritarian structure and like the attitude towards the work and people and stuff, I kind of worked at two different companies where one was really laid back and relaxed and kind of let the employees just make sure they get their job done and kind of created a positive environment. And then the other one was very like overseeing, kind of watched every move and kind of created a more stressful environment. And kind of what I noticed was kind of both tasks and I guess work ethic and everything was kind of the same. Like everything got done the same. The kind of productivity was all really good. It was just with my positive environment job, you always had that smile coming into work, and you never had kind of a big negative day. Where while the other job still got everything done the same, everyone kind of almost like imploded. At least once, a week where the environment was horrible. So I think it was both even until it wasn't, and the negative environment really just saw a lot of people kind of get hired and leave right away, and there wasn't a lot of long-term employees. You kind of just saw I guess the environment be a very poor, negative atmosphere. So I think that was one thing. And once I read the article, I really thought about it and realized how, they actually both, for at least in my case, worked out well in terms of getting the job done. But the environment was horrible. And at my current job, where the atmosphere is very positive, I mean, you have employees that have been there for over decades. So it's kind of cool to look back and see.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I work kind of in a lot of people consider it a negative environment, but because I get along with the boss so well and like I'm good at what I'm doing and I enjoy it, like I see it as a positive environment. So like I love my job. I go to work, I enjoy it. But then a lot of other employees are having trouble like staying, like long-term employees, like people come in, the boss freaks out on them or yells at them for doing something they didn't know they shouldn't be doing, and then employees just never stay. So I mean, I guess it could be by person. Anyway, so like, I don't know. I feel like it could be the whole culture, but it also depends like per person.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it a part here?
No, I want to touch base on like what Tyler was saying with like watching every move in the stressful environment. I feel like we do at my current store, there's like some shifts that will delegate like overbearingly and create this like fear response in others. And my boss particularly, I was on window and you could just feel him like leaning over you. And I feel like your performance just drops when you have that little piece of fear in the back of your neck.
Totally.
And just like, yeah.
Yeah.
When you have a boss you're like scared of, I mean, not that you're scared of them, but they're kind of scary. It never makes like, I feel like then I'm like messing up more or can't do what I'm supposed to do because like my anxiety's through the roof. Like,
Yeah, and usually that's
Yeah,
when you make
exactly.
more mistakes too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing I read too that was pretty interesting is like kind of the use of symbols and like with the logos and kind of just the way they like design the building, lay out the building, the language, everything. I think it's really interesting how like that environment kind of plays a huge impact because I've had a lot of businesses where like it's just beautiful on the inside and the structure and everything is really done well. So it kind of creates that clean environment and in just in a way it results in a lot of positive outcomes. And then I've worked in a lot of places that are, for lack of a better word, like a little more slummy and not more focused on the organized aspect of it and not keeping things clean. And it's crazy how things like that really impact the work environment where, if you kind of walk into a place where it's not clean, it's not, thought of for the customers and the employees where, maybe the floor is clean, but the back is not, cared for. And, it kind of makes you feel like you're not cared for. So it's kind of interesting how that translates into the environment.
and I feel like the leader is responsible for that because I've worked in the same situations where clean to not, or just, slumming.
Yeah.
And the leader could be the one who changes that or doesn't, like thinks it's okay or thinks it's not okay.
True.
I feel like they have a lot of say on the organizational culture. I feel like they make the whole thing almost.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And going back to the setup at the office, in workplace setups to where people are able to see each other and talk openly, that actually is also creates an engaging and positive workplace as well. But when you're in these tall cubicles where you can't see anybody, you feel cut off and so you're not as engaging and it becomes more like almost like a prison feel.
Yeah.
Everything's negative.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that whole thing, it's like whenever you are the leader, you're the role model. Like I've seen some leaders, I'm sometimes the barista, sometimes the shift supervisor. When I'm the barista, I'll have some leaders that will just kind of like talk, not really do a lot of work, do all their cleaning things at the end. But like when I try to role model, I try to show people that like when I come on the floor, it's time to work. We can talk, but let's work and talk. And by doing that, we are able to go above and beyond and like help the next people out. Whereas other people, I don't really feel like they look out, don't really pay it forward in that sense. So I feel like if you like do pay it forward, you start to see an increase in the mood in the overall workplace. especially since people's jobs are easier when they first come in. They're like, okay, great, everything's been done, instead of the fact that like, oh, now I have to put away this whole order, now I have to do this, now I have to do this, and they just feel burdened and like crash down.
Like leaders that take care of you. I've worked in environments where, like, say I'm 2 different restaurants and a leader doesn't care if we're fed or not. Like we have to pay full price and like eat on our own time, like whenever we have time. Whereas I've worked at a place where at the beginning of the shift, we all get a free meal. And then that way you kind of feel like more important and you do feel taken care of, like in the organization.
Feel part of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Let's see. I guess like kind of one, final topic we can talk about is like kind of like the values and like the corporate responsibility and everything. I kind of figured out that's pretty like an interesting kind of like idea, just because with my work we there's a lot of things that I think my work does that maybe impacts the I guess overall like income of the business, just something that like helps the environment. So like we do certain things where we won't give guests certain like water bottles like on our big outdoor tours, just because they'll always litter. They'll do, it's easier for them to litter, I should say. So we kind of make it harder work on us, kind of make it cost more for us, but just kind of help the environment. But yet at the same time, we'll do things where we'll go take a big old tour in the rain, which sometimes will ruin the trails. So it's interesting to see these 2 different day-to-day things happen, where when one day we're making these huge changes to help the environment, and actually everyone's really excited to be a part of this company where we're like actually care more about the environment than always making money. And then the next day, maybe doing an outdoor tour in the rain and ruining hardworking, people's trails. So on those days, you get a lot of negative attitudes where people are just pissed, where, we use those trails on our days off and we're seeing that we're ruining the trails. So while it's within the same company, it's very cool to see the difference in attitudes from each approach day to day, where, when we're saving the environment, everyone feels good. And then the next day it's like, holy crap, like what did we just do? So I think has a huge impact on work environment and the workplace in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, so are we coming up on our time?
I think we are.
All right,
Yeah.
sweet.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day.
Yeah.
Oh, you as well.
Thank you, Daisy.
Yeah.